Before we begin the bus tour, this video has been brought to you by Backcountry PPG. Backcountry PPG is a full-service paramotor training and sales company based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We set ourselves apart in a few different ways. We bring you the best possible instruction by combining Trevor and I's knowledge of teaching that we've learned from many different people across the nation, and it's like a culmination of all of the different instruction styles. We also carry every single major manufacturer of paramotors, gliders, and accessories. If you're looking to learn how to fly a paramotor for the first time, or you're already a paramotor pilot and you want to be a part of one of our progression clinics, you can visit our website, backcountryppg.com, and get enrolled today. Thank you, Backcountry PPG. Now, on to the tour. This year, this is Goose. This is my 2005 Bluebird Vision bus that I've turned into a tiny home, and it's now my house. And a lot of people have asked for a tour of it. But before I show you around it, I want to show you how I ended up with this bus and how it came to be, because it's a pretty fun story. I've been wanting to build my own mobile home for a really long time, and I've always wanted to do it on a school bus platform. Now, besides looking pretty cool, it's the most cost-effective way to get a lot of space on a really solid chassis. I've been looking for the right bus for a while, but couldn't find the right model. So I broadened my search and found this one in Oklahoma. And when I saw it had everything I wanted, I told the lady selling it I would be there the next day. So I jumped on an airplane with my good friend Dan. We took some kind of hillbilly Uber.
We're 1 mile from school bus stand.
Here's the country Uber up here.
To a town called Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and this is where I met Goose for the first time. I drove all the way, flew all the way halfway across the country for this exact moment to come into this bus and see the bus. She was low on coolant and needed 3 new batteries, but once I put all that stuff in and figured out every single safety device on it, she started right up.
Give it some gas.
So I paid the lady selling it, and without ever driving a school bus before, I got in it and drove it straight to Southern California. All right, this is it. First time driving the bus as the owner of the bus, and here we go. I'm driving a school bus. Besides being pretty loud and crashy and leaking some coolant out of a heater that I've since removed, it made the trip entirely fine. Well, I'm standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, and that's such a fine sight to see. Once I got back to the Salton Sea, I listed my van for sale, sold it pretty quickly, and then moved right up to Salt Lake City. And upon arrival, I met this dude, Wes Dealey. The day we met, he helped me change the oil and change 2 fuel filters on this bus and offered me a place to build it up in Washington. And so I spent the entire summer in Wes's garage building this bus. Now back to our senior field correspondent, Judson Graham, to give you a complete tour of Goose. So we'll start up front. This is a 2006 Bluebird Vision handy bus. It's kind of a handicap bus before I got it. Powered by a Caterpillar C7 engine, making 250 horsepower and 800 foot-pounds of torque, and that is mated to an Allison 2000 series transmission. It has currently 225,000 miles on it, and fully loaded with water and supplies weighs just around 21,000 pounds. The paint job was done by me with a roller and a paintbrush. This is Ford Tractor Blue, and that is International Harvester White. I opted for these paints because they're readily available and they're super durable. It took a lot of time prepping and taping it, and it's holding up great. These 2 puppies are my freshwater tanks. They're 55-gallon drums, which are kind of ugly, but it was an easy and cheap way to hang a bunch of water under the bus. So together they total 110 gallons of fresh water, so I can take so many showers. And this right here is the exhaust for the diesel heater. There's a few items on the outside of this bus that are known as trucker bling, and this is one of them. The lug nut caps and the hub covers, courtesy of Wes Dealey out of Washington. He helped me source these to give it a more clean look. Speaking of Wes, as we move to the back of the bus, this is Wes's rack. It's one of the most prominent and one of my favorite features on the bus. We needed a place to hang the mini split condenser on the outside, and we were gonna build a small platform, but Wes looked at me and he goes, "Judson, why don't we build a big rack?" And I go, okay, let's do it. So Wes designed out of cardboard all of the components of this, gave them to me. I took them to a fabrication shop. They cut them out of metal. Wes put them all together, welded it up, hung it up here with a forklift, and it's just a fantastic place. You can go up there, watch the sunset. It's easy access to the roof with the ladder. It's fantastic storage for hoses and things that can stay outside. And there's paramotor hooks to hang test motors from. Moving up to the roof, we have 6 250 watt house solar panels for a total of 1,500 watts of solar solar catching capability up here, which is enough to run the mini split. I also have a max air fan, and then behind me a skylight that goes into the kitchen. That's how I repurposed the 2 roof hatches. If you're wondering, this is kind of the ideal way to attach solar to a bus. You put all thread on the solar panel, you get 1/4-inch plate and you weld that to the roof of the bus, caulk around it so it doesn't rust on the bottom, and then weld that all thread to the plate. This gives you a really solid mounting point and the option to remove the panel, but you're not messing around with double-sided tape or putting holes in the bus. It's by far the best. Moving on to the shade side of the bus, this is my gray tank for the shower. It's another 55-gallon drum. Right here is the 8-inch bro pipe off of a Kenworth dump truck that we had to install because the stock exhaust went right where this tank was gonna be. Caterpillar makes a good sounding engine. Over here, this is the gray water for the kitchen sink. It is 33 gallons, but we just drain it before it gets full. This is the bus's air tank. We have 120 PSI off the engine, it's amazing. Freshwater fill, shore power, battery compartment. These are the bus's batteries. They don't actually run my house, but inside of it, I have an air chuck for air tools, air hose. I have some lights for the outside and some chocks for the wheels, as well as just some water if I need it. Now this here panel, well, this is the box of Bluebird Mystery and Illusion. This powers all of the lights on the outside of the bus, blinkers, windshield wipers. I try to not go in here as much as humanly possible. I did remove a bunch of wiring for the cameras that came with the bus and installed trailer lights on the back and had to splice into a bunch of wires right here. But I try to, we just don't go in here. A question I get asked often is, what are the vents on this side? Neither of them are a fireplace. This one is the vent for my hot water heater, and that one is the vent for my stove hood. Those are what the vents do. Now this is the control center of Goose. This is an air ride seat out of a Kenworth dump truck. It feels like you're floating on air when you drive, because you are. The speedometer goes up to 90, but the bus only goes 70, so we added those stickers. Here's what all the gauges do. Coolant temperature, exhaust gas temperature, we installed that gauge. Engine voltage, speed, tachometer that doesn't work, engine oil pressure, fuel level, amperage. This is your view driving Goose. A lot of these switches don't work, but here are some of the key ones. Those are the headlights, high idle, cruise control set, cruise control, turn on and off. This bus has cruise control. Blinkers, hazard lights, radio that doesn't work, windshield wipers. I don't know what that does. These are all switches for a heater I removed. Fresh air, recirculating air, typical car stuff, fan speed, defrost. Where do you want the air? There used to be 2 heaters in this bus. One was in the back and I had to remove it, so I just looped the coolant system right there. Back to this heater core, so you get incredible heat. Parking brake right here. These are controls for air conditioners I removed when I bought the bus. I think this is a defrost, but it turns one of the headlights on. These turn on lights that no longer exist. This turns on the light in the front. This also turns on a light in the front. I don't know what brake override does. I wish it was like an engine brake or something, but it's not. This noise suppression button turns off all of the fans in the front, and this is the strobe light. Legal to drive 30 minutes after sunset. One of Goose's most distinct features is the bulkhead, the wall. The benefit of the wall is it's very hard to insulate windows. It creates an entire insulated wall that separates me from the driving area and allows me to not have to struggle to insulate all of this. It also creates a space inside that is much more cozy and doesn't feel like you're in a vehicle. And it also gives me a very convenient place to mount my electrical system. Let's run through the electrical system real quick. Down below, we have 400 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate batteries at 24 volts, totaling 9.8 kilowatts. That there is the hot water heater. It just pipes out the ceiling. And then we have a few boxes. This one here is my solar controller inverter in one, which is an amazing product. It eliminates a lot of extra wiring. These are the solar power wires coming in the ceiling. They just run into here. You hook the batteries up and it spits out 120 power right from here. Now this box here is my breakers for the house. One of these is for the air conditioner circuit. The other is for everything else. This box here is my 12-volt circuit, a 24 to 12-volt step-down transformer. That's just a terminal block with all of the 12-volt circuitry. I've added motion detecting lights to the ceiling, so when you walk in here, it illuminates. And right inside the door is where I keep my paramotor on top of the toolbox. And of course, no mobile vehicle is complete without a guest list. Remember to keep your Sharpie on a lanyard so you don't lose it. This is my Starlink unit. It sits here. I just run the antenna out the door. For the people asking how Starlink is, it's fantastic. You get about 120 down in most places, and it works everywhere. Got some nice hooks right here for jackets. Let's go inside. Welcome home. This is the inside of Goose. This is the back side of the insulation wall of epicness. Let me show you around. Let's start right up here in the kitchen. Now, the first thing everyone says when they come in my bus is, wow, look at that piece of wood. Now, I'm used to hearing this, but it's not normally about my countertop. But this is a 2 5/8 inch piece of live edge maple from Washington that was donated to the bus cause. We have a Camp Chef Ranger 2 stove. The reason I opted for this was so that I could take the stove outside and cook outside. Currently, I'm waiting for a bracket for the propane to be hooked up outside, so I have to take a tank inside to use it. This countertop was not actually long enough to go all the way to the wall, so I had this piece of steel bent to this shape to fill the gap, and I used a router to sink it into the counter. And then along that there is plugs. Just about the only thing in this bus I didn't build myself was these cabinets. They came from IKEA. I've installed a range hood up here. I think it's kind of the centerpiece of the kitchen. It says Goose. I just love the way the white looks. And one of my favorite things inside the bus, this little adapter was one of the hardest parts on the bus. It must be made clear that one of the design features in this bus is function over form. I wanted everything to be simple, easy to use, readily available pieces of wood that can be serviced. Most things in here are off-the-shelf wood from Home Depot that I've just sanded the edges of so it's clean. Very, very simple construction. We needed a large sink. This was found at a thrift store, and it's plenty of room to just put random things in while you're driving, as well as keep a few days of dirty dishes. There's a couple 120 volt lights. Love this light switch. 12 volt lights. Other 12 volt lights that pivot. There's a skylight right there. It's just a plexiglass dome. I love it. It lets in a ton of light. It's not the most insulated thing. It just makes the space feel so open. This area of the bus I'd consider the least complete. There's going to be a fireplace here, but I'm not putting it in until after my upcoming trip because it's just good storage. This is extra window delete we didn't need. It's 3/16 inch steel, and then underneath this is a place I intend to store wood for the fireplace. And then this here is my diesel heater. I just got it plumbed into my diesel fuel tank, and this thing more than keeps up. It's been in the 30s here at night, and I run this thing on basically the lowest setting, and it stays in the 70s in here. This bench right here, I built myself. The geometry is courtesy of Our Wild Caravan on Instagram. They have a beautiful bus, and they gave me all of the dimensions for it. I also have a little door where I keep tools. I like these hinges, they're cute. I've added some hooks along this wall to keep hats and my headphones on. These are 120 volt lights. They have switches on them independently, so this one's just a light. But this one, that's for rave mode. And that brings us to my workstation. Now there was 4 things on this bus that I had to have. Number 1 was solar powered air conditioning. Number 2 was a awesome shower. Number 3 was a toilet. And number 4 was a dedicated workstation where I could work on my computer and it would be all nice. And this is that spot. This table is just a piece of plywood I used a router to do the corners of, but I can just look out the window and take in the world. I have a small dorm fridge with a freezer. It just runs off the battery. Now you'll probably notice in here there's a lot of things that could be 12 volt, like the refrigerator or some of the lights, but I spec'd this electrical system out to run a mini split air conditioner which pulls like 800 watts. So anything else, it's just child's play to this thing. I mean, it makes 200 or 300 watts of power on a cloudy day, so that fridge pulling 90 watts sometimes, it doesn't matter. I have a shelf here. I just installed this. For now it has my film cameras, backpack, and paramotor helmet. I found this little live edge piece of wood to take up this corner and fit right there. Next to that is my dresser. This is one of the other things that I didn't build myself. I found this in a thrift store. barn door. This is the toilet area. It's a Nature's Head composting toilet. You put peat moss in it and oh my God, it's so good. No need to dump black tanks. It's just dirt. So this door is a dual function sliding barn door that either closes the bathroom or the shower. The shower is one of my favorite things in this bus. Notice how I stepped down. This shower was designed and built by Wes Thiele. All steel walls, cedar ceiling. So the best thing about this shower is we cut a giant hole in the floor, 2 feet by 2 feet, and Wes fabricated a shower pan that goes down 5 inches. So when you get in the shower, you step down and then you have the shower head over your head and you can take a fantastic shower. I'd be here with the shower head, level with it if we hadn't done this drop down. It is a good shower, no matter who you are. On-demand hot water heater too, so unlimited showers. To the back of the bus now and my bed area. Of course, you have to have a comfortable bed, and this is an awesome memory foam mattress with a topper on top of it. Very comfortable. Below me is a bunch of storage that's accessible from outside on the side door and the back door. And above me is my 9,000 BTU Senville mini split, which does a fantastic job at cooling this entire place down. I just installed this new shelf and these boxes, and then behind my headboard is also storage. I also put another shelf over here. A lot of people ask what that box is, and that is where the air conditioner pipes go through the wall. Now, I'm often asked what would be one piece of advice to give you on a bus build, and my single piece of advice is insulation. I haven't talked about it yet, but this bus has 9 bales of mineral wool insulation, which has a very high R value. It's flame resistant and is easy to work with. You could do spray foam, you could do natural wool, but this is a good option. The fact of the matter is you're living in a tin can. When the sun hits this thing, it gets real hot real fast, and you want to create as much of a barrier between you and the outside as possible. Besides putting rock wool and a little bit of spray foam in every possible cavity I could, every piece of wood in this bus that touches metal of the frame has a piece of very thin foam sill tape to insulate the wood from the skin of the bus to minimize heat transfer. And I'm happy to say, with all of this insulation, it stays the ambient temperature outside in here. If I turn my roof vent on and crack a window, if it's 82 degrees outside and blazing sun, it's gonna be 82 degrees inside. Another fantastic thing with insulation, especially rock wool, is it absorbs sound. I turn these speakers up until stuff shakes all of the time, and if you go outside, you can barely hear it. So I feel totally fine to have a mini dance party in here in a neighborhood because you can't hear it outside. And when you're driving, it doesn't sound like a tin can. This thing feels solid, and that is in no small part due to the amount of insulation in it. Now, the other side of this, why haven't you shared this yet? And it's kind of a twofold answer. The biggest answer is I had to build this entire thing in 52 days. I had a limited amount of time in Washington before I went to Burning Man with my brother, and it had to be done. And filming things while you're building things takes easily double the amount of time. On top of that, I just really enjoyed having a project for myself that I wasn't worried about constantly trying to film everything and document everything and share everything. And it was like honestly therapeutic to build this thing. I view living in vehicles as kind of a means to an end to do the lifestyle I do. It's way cheaper and it allows you to go wherever you want to. And so speaking of going wherever you want to, I'm announcing to you all that I am taking this bus down to Baja, Mexico to paramotor and surf and meet people and climb and ride motorcycles and paraglide and just do all of the most fun things I possibly can for the winter. And I want to include bus living in that. It's just so much a part of my life. I never think, oh, I should probably share this, but I should probably share it. I think people find it interesting. I realize most people don't live like this. The video structure for this is actually going to be really unique. Now, I could make a vlog every week and talk about what I've done, but I want to do it a little bit different. I want to try to make as much individual pieces of content as possible from the trip to try to draw in people from the van life world into paramotoring and my lifestyle. So I am going to create one 60-second piece of media every day that tells a short story. It's not necessarily going to be a vlog. It could just be something that happened that day. And then in the end, we're gonna create a documentary about the whole trip. If everything goes amazing and the internet loves this stuff, then I can do this more. And that's really what I wanna do. I wanna take my bus and I wanna go to amazing places like Alaska and Canada and wherever else and share the people I meet and share the troubles and triumphs along the way. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.